In October 2025, the Trump administration shocked North America by announcing a sweeping new policy, a 25% tariff on all vehicles imported from Mexico, set to take effect on April 2nd. The move sent immediate shockwaves through the auto industry and across international markets. This wasn't just a minor adjustment. It was a seismic shift, threatening the very foundation of Mexico's booming auto industry, which relies on the US for nearly 80% of its car exports. The sudden tariff put billions of dollars in trade at risk and raised questions about the future of cross-border manufacturing. The move put over 1 million Mexican jobs at risk and sent panic through Mexico City. Workers, business owners, and government officials scrambled to understand the full impact, fearing a wave of layoffs and economic instability. It was part of a broader U.S. strategy, one that signaled a new era of aggressive economic policy and a willingness to use tariffs as leverage in international negotiations. The administration also imposed 50% tariffs on Canadian steel and 25% on Mexican pharmaceuticals, targeting key industries that had long benefited from free trade agreements. And, for the first time, a tariff was placed on fentanyl imports, tying trade policy directly to security concerns and the ongoing opioid crisis. The cooperative spirit of the USMCA, once hailed as a new chapter in North American relations, was suddenly in jeopardy. The US made it clear it would use its economic muscle to get its way, even at the cost of regional stability. Mexico and Canada were forced onto the defensive, scrambling to respond as the era of stable North American trade came to an abrupt and uncertain end. Markets tumbled, and leaders faced mounting pressure to protect their economies. The message was clear: predictability was out, and economic penalties could hit America's neighbors at any time. The rules of trade had changed overnight, leaving the continent bracing for what might come next. Canada, already hit by steel tariffs, saw the US move against Mexico as a warning shot. Fearing they could be next, Canada and Mexico forged a new alliance. In September 2025, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney visited Mexico City, meeting President Claudia Sheinbaum. The two leaders pledged to coordinate their strategies for the USMCA review, vowing to deepen economic and security ties. They declared they were not competitors but partners facing US pressure together. This partnership was a direct response to both economic and security threats from Washington, including reports of US military preparations targeting Mexican cartels. With $1.7 trillion in trade and 17 million jobs at stake, Canada and Mexico aim to counterbalance US dominance. Their united front sent a message: North American trade would now be a negotiation among equals, not dictated by Washington alone. For the first time in years, Canada and Mexico spoke with one voice. Mexico's auto industry has exploded in recent years, especially in the fast-growing sector of electric vehicles. Production soared 30-fold since 2020, transforming Mexico into a major player in the global automotive market almost overnight. This rapid growth has attracted global giants from around the world, but none more so than Chinese firms, who are eager to find new ways into the lucrative US market after American tariffs on China made direct exports more difficult. Chinese companies have set up shop in Mexico, assembling goods and vehicles for export north under the rules of the USMCA, which allows for easier access to the US and Canadian markets. In 2023, Chinese investment in Mexico hit a record $3.77 billion, fueling a wave of new factories, infrastructure projects, and thousands of new jobs for Mexican workers. Trade data shows a clear pattern. Chinese parts and materials flow into Mexico, where they're assembled into finished products that then head to the US, effectively bypassing direct tariffs and trade barriers. Mexico is now a vital link in global supply chains, connecting Asia, North America, and beyond. But this new role comes with significant risk and responsibility. The US sees this as a growing threat, worried about Chinese goods sneaking in and undermining American industries, jobs, and even national security. For Mexico, Chinese investment means economic growth, new opportunities, and a stronger manufacturing sector, but it also brings political headaches and tough choices. The country must carefully balance the benefits of foreign capital and job creation, with the risk of angering its biggest trading partner, the United States, whose policies can shift quickly. Mexico's economic boom has put it in the crosshairs of a global trade war, forcing it to navigate a complex web of alliances, rivalries, and shifting economic tides. Washington sees Mexico as a gateway for Chinese goods to dodge U.S. tariffs, especially in the electric vehicle sector. Chinese EV makers like BYD eyed massive Mexican plants, aiming to flood the U.S. market with affordable cars. This prospect alarmed American automakers and policymakers, fearing unfair competition and job losses. The new 25% tariff on Mexican vehicles was designed to close this loophole and push carmakers to build in the U.S. Yet, by targeting Mexico, the U.S. risked alienating a key partner, treating it more like a rival than an ally. Canada, by contrast, faced little scrutiny, making Mexico's situation even more fraught. The U.S. is determined to keep China from gaining a foothold in North America, even if it strains ties with its neighbors. The trade war with China is now being fought on America's southern border. Under U.S. pressure, Mexico had to act fast. To show it was serious, Mexico imposed a 50% tariff on Chinese cars and raised duties on Chinese steel and auto parts. It also ended tariff breaks for electric vehicles from countries without a free trade deal, hitting Chinese EV makers hardest. These moves aim to reassure Washington and protect Mexico's own industries. Mexico's strategy shifted from welcoming Chinese investment to defending its market and USMCA commitments. The government now walks a tightrope, trying to be a reliable U.S. partner while not shutting out valuable foreign capital. Mexico's new approach is more assertive, enforcing trade rules and managing its relationships with both superpowers. In this new game, Mexico must be nimble to secure its future. Beneath the headlines, workers and businesses across North America are feeling the pain. The impact of trade tensions isn't just a story for economists or politicians, it's a daily reality for millions of people who depend on cross-border commerce to make a living. From factory floors to small-town shops, uncertainty is spreading, and livelihoods are on the line. In Mexico, the auto industry faces layoffs and stalled investments as U.S. tariffs threaten its lifeblood. Factories that once buzzed with activity now sit idle, and workers worry about how they'll support their families if the situation drags on. States like Nuevo León and Guanajuato scramble to support factories and find new markets, but replacing U.S. demand is daunting. Local leaders are working overtime to keep jobs in their communities, but the scale of the challenge is immense. American manufacturers, reliant on Mexican parts, now face higher costs and supply chain chaos. Delays and shortages ripple through the system, forcing companies to make tough choices about production and staffing. The very tariffs meant to protect U.S. jobs could end up hurting the businesses that provide them. Small business owners and factory managers alike are caught in a bind, squeezed by rising expenses and shrinking demand. Canada isn't immune. Its auto sector is deeply tied to both neighbors, and instability ripples across the region. Canadian workers and companies are bracing for the fallout, knowing that their fortunes are linked to decisions made far beyond their borders. Ottawa is even considering easing EV targets to help its struggling industry. Policymakers are searching for ways to cushion the blow, but solutions are hard to come by in such a complex, interconnected market. For workers from Windsor to Monterey, a slowdown in one country means job losses in another. The fate of thousands is tied together, and a single disruption can send shockwaves through entire communities. The integrated North American economy means no one is insulated from the fallout. Every truck, train, and shipment links lives and livelihoods across borders, making the consequences of trade disputes impossible to contain. The trade war's real casualties are the people whose livelihoods hang in the balance. For families, workers, and business owners, the uncertainty is more than numbers on a spreadsheet. It's a daily struggle to adapt, survive, and hope for better days ahead. Tariffs and alliances have redrawn North America's economic map. The U.S. now uses trade as a weapon, forcing Mexico and Canada to unite in self-defense. The electric vehicle industry is the new battleground, with Mexico's rise and Chinese investment fueling U.S. anxiety. Mexico must juggle U.S. demands and its own growth, while Canada and Mexico hope their alliance gives them leverage in the 2026 USMCA review. The outcome will shape trillions in trade and millions of jobs for years to come. The era of quiet integration is over. Competition and maneuvering are the new normal. The three nations are now partners and rivals, each fighting for its own interests in a shifting global landscape. The North American trade saga is far from over. A new, unpredictable chapter has just begun.